let's learn about the water cycle and the salinity, or the level of salt in the water, and how it changes over time. Today I've got a special instrument that measures the salinity in the water, and I've also got 4 different samples of water that come from the water cycle. Okay, let's start with seawater. Test it. Seawater has a value of around 50,000, and this is quite salty. You know it's salty because when you go swimming in the sea, it actually tastes salty. What's next in the water cycle? Well, the seawater evaporates, forms clouds, and eventually becomes rainwater. Does rainwater taste salty? No, it doesn't, does it? Let's test that one. Rainwater has a value of around 20. So that's way less salty than the seawater, which was around 50,000. So where did all the salts go? Well, as the seawater evaporates into the clouds, it actually leaves the salts behind in the sea and evaporates as pure water. Okay, so what's next in the water cycle? Well, the rain falls onto the ground, flows over the soil, eventually finds creeks, streams, or rivers. Do you think river water is salty? Let's test it out. This river water sample has a value of around 250. So it's quite a bit saltier than the rainwater, which was around 20, but far less salty than the seawater at 50,000 or so. So where did the river water get its salt from when it started out as rainwater? Well, as the rain hits the ground, it flows over the soil, through the rocks, and eventually into the rivers. And as it's flowing over this rock and soil, it actually picks up minerals or salts from the rock and soil and carries it with it. And that's how it gets its salt. This river water, though, is actually considered fresh. You don't actually start tasting the salt till around a value of 1,500 or 2,000. This river water actually feeds into the Sydney drinking water supply. It's basically the same water that comes out of the tap. Okay, so what about the rainwater that falls to the ground but it doesn't go over the ground, it goes under the ground? This is called groundwater. Over time, the water trickles through the spaces in the soil and the rocks and gets deeper. I've got a sample here that came from a rock 700 metres below the Earth's surface. This water fell as rainwater about 1 million years ago, and it's taken that long for it to slowly get down. So let's test this one. This groundwater has a value of around 12,000. So it's quite a bit saltier than the river and the rainwater, but it's still not as salty as seawater. It's picked up salts from the rock as it's flowed through it for the million years since it fell as rainfall. So eventually the groundwater and the river water might find its way back into the sea, and that completes a simple water cycle. The seawater evaporates to clouds, leaves salts behind, falls as rain as fresh water, and eventually trickles and collects in river water while it's collected salts on the way. Or it might go under the ground as groundwater and takes salts out of the rocks as it flows through that and makes it back to the sea. So now you know a bit about the water cycle and how the level of salt changes over time and why some water tastes saltier than others. Thank you.